Jancis, born from the Genova Project G, led by Dr. Hollander. During his upbringing in Benora, Jancis would become friends with Angel Healy. It was also around the same time where Jancis would become envy of Sephiroth, where he and Angel would travel to Midgard, where they would join Soldier, eventually rising through the ranks and becoming Soldier First Class, also becoming Sephiroth's only friends. However, one day during a sparring session, Jancis would suffer a shoulder wound. Despite thinking it would heal, Xandria would trigger his genetic degradation. However, Jancis would go rogue, assuming that Dr. Hollander could heal him of his degradation. But months later, he would be tracked down by Zack Fair, but would summon Bahamut before leaving Zack to defeat his summon. Jancis would confront Sephiroth in Nibelheim, where he would reveal Sephiroth's past, obtaining a sample of his cells to cure his degradation, but Sephiroth would refuse and leave him to rot. Within 4 years, Zack would track Jancis down to the undergrounds of Benora, where he would absorb natural materia, where he would transform into his avatar form. After a prolonged fight, Zack would defeat Jancis, which would also cure him of his degradation, but using what strength he had, Jancis would once again do battle with Zack one last time, which would result in him being struck down. Afterwards, the two would resurface, where Zack and Cloud would set off to Midgard. Afterwards, Jancis would be recovered by Shino troops, but his fate after that remains unknown. Winter was born to Will and Jax Schnee as eldest daughter. At some point, Winter would join Atlas Academy. Eventually, she'll become Ironwood's subordinate. After the fall began, Winter would be called back to Atlas Academy, where she would be tasked in looking after the Winter Maiden. But during the Battle of Mantle, Winter and Penny would prepare to transfer the Winter Maiden's power, but they would be interrupted by Cinder Fall. Despite her efforts, Winter would be overpowered by Cinder. However, Penny had obtained the power of the Winter Maiden, who would force Cinder to retreat. Afterwards, Winter and Aesop's prepared to bomb Monstra, but thanks to Ozpin's built-up power, would explode Monstra. After Ironwood's speech to Team RWBY, Winter and Team Junior would do battle with Ironwood, and after defeating him, would imprison him. But it wouldn't be long for Ironwood to be released by Watts, who would track down Winter to the vault and would do battle with Winter, who would gain the upper hand, but Penny would transfer her power to Winter, who would make quick work of Ironwood. Winter would head towards the evacuation center to do battle with Cinder, but Cinder would blast Weiss off the ledge, and raging Winter, who would swear her vengeance before leaving to Vacuo, where her journey continues. Well, what's up, Winter here, and welcome to the first bonus match of Season 3, Robbie Pink, the Blackwing Angel Jancis, against the Aesop Winter Schnee, to give her more of a challenge since she did so well against a member of Seed. Now, due to this being a bonus match, Jancis' research will be coming from his fight with Crow, and Winter's research will be coming from her fight with Squall. Right, with nothing else to go over, let's look at these two physically. By the time of his defeat at the hands of first-class soldier Zack Fair, Jancis would be a 25-year-old man, staying around 6'2". Due to being enhanced by Genova cells, Zack granted him enhanced strength, speed, durability. As far as strength goes, he easily overpowered Angel, trade blows, and stalemated Sephiroth. However, with a slight grain of salt, Sephiroth wasn't going all out, only one to test Jancis. Speaking of which, Jancis is shown to be a match for Zack Fair, who himself temporarily trade blows with Sephiroth and cut Meldor apart with a single swing. Durability wise, he's gone several rounds with Zack Fair. However, as mentioned by Dr. Hojo, unlike Sephiroth, who's a much more stable specimen, Jancis is the most durable, since a single shoulder wound was enough to trigger his genetic degradation. As far as speed goes, his speed has been enhanced to keep pace with Sephiroth and Zack Fair. Despite his genetic flaws, he had best skills above Zack Fair, but clearly below avid children Cloud Strife and first-class soldier Sephiroth. By the end of Volume 8, Winter would be in her mid-20s, staring around 5'8" heals. In terms of strength, Winter is very strong. She slammed Crow into the ground hard enough to form a crater, trade blows with Cinder, and should skill to Tyrion, who broke Ruby's aura of a kick and overpowered Team Junior. And Tyrion at best scales to Crow, who could blade luck with Raven, who on her own created shockwaves when she and Cinder clashed. Speed-wise, she kept pace with Cinder, who fought Raven on falling debris in only seconds, and should compare to Mercury and Emerald, who dodged air-ground lightning several times. As far as durability goes, she's taking hits from Cinder and blasts from Ironwood's cannon, and she should be comparable to Neo, as well as the other Aesops were in close range to an explosion comparable to a nuke. However, without her aura, a well-placed stab will be more than enough to put her down. When it comes to Genesis and Winter physically, I'll favor Genesis more when it comes to overall strength, since he had full strength skills above powerful member Soldier, such as Zack, who temporarily held his own against a serious Sephiroth. And may I remind you that this was Zack before he was enhanced with Genova cells, but still below Sephiroth and Avid Children Cloud. Speed would be close if it wasn't for one big factor, the fact that Sephiroth was holding back in their fight. At best, he scales above Zack and Cloud, while Winter at best compares to lightning timers such as Mercury and Emerald, so I favor Winter more. Now, you could scale Zack higher and say he's comparable if not above Cloud, since Zack at best is capable of dodging and maneuvering around gunfire, while Cloud is capable of dodging lightning magic. Durability is not even a contest. Genesis' genetic flaws is a serious factor to every fight he has been a part of. The more damage he takes over time, the more his overall combative performance will begin to rapidly decrease. Winter, on the other hand, has taken hits from powerful punts such as Cinder and powerful explosions, and Winter won't take any real damage until her aura is broken, and even then, she will still be fighting at a tip-top level. Despite Genesis having a solid strength advantage, that's the best he has going for him. Yes, he does have a good speed feed going towards him through scaling, but that's where it ends. Now, if this was a Cure Genesis, this will be a completely different story, since he would have the endurance to outlast Winter and the speed needed to keep up with her, but that's not the case this time, so I give Winter the edge in physical capabilities. Genesis has only one weapon. His sword is known as Rapier. The Rapier is a broadsword with a rapier style handle. A unique function that the blade has is the ability to allow Genesis to fuse his magic with the blade itself to strengthen his attacks. Winter carries only one weapon, and that is a sword, which is a rapier. Due to its design, the sword is more built for slashing than piercing. Her sword also has a mechanism built into the hilt to allow her to wield a smaller sword. Yeah, this is not even a contest. Winter's sword may give her an extra weapon, but Genesis' rapier gives him better range and amps his attacks faster than what Winter's aura could do. Yes, I'm well aware that Winter's swords won't break due to her aura protecting her weapon, but that doesn't mean that Genesis can't knock her weapon out of her hand. Now, despite quantity being quality most of the time, in this case, Winter's secondary sword still falls short compared to Genesis' rapier, even when both swords are combined, so I give Genesis the edge in weapons. Unlike other member soldiers who use materia, Genesis, on the other hand, took the opposite route, and instead preferring to use his own destructive magic. But he does prefer to use fire spells. He can send off a volley of fireballs to lock onto opponent's location. His Limit Breakers consist of Dancing Sword that unleashes a quick barrage of sword strikes. Magical Swords summons a circle of energy swords to stab into an opponent. Flash sends off a storm of projectiles. Twister Strike allows him to close the distance between his opponent. And lastly, his most strongest limit breaker is dubbed the Apocalypse Blast, that deals out massive amounts of damage to all opponents in his range. Due to his genetic makeup, Genesis could also reveal a Black Angel Wing for better flight and mobility. Just like all other huntresses, Winter has an aura and semblance. Aura is a manifestation of one's soul, which can boost a user's strength, dampen damage, or even heal them at a rapid rate. Her semblance are her glyphs. Her glyphs can block tags, or could use them to jump to a higher ledge, or can boost her speed. She can also summon Grim that she has defeated to aid her in combat, which I only gave her 2 summons, her Beowulf and Small Nevermores, After gaining the power of the Winter Maiden, Winter gains the ability of flight to give her better mobility. However, Winter hasn't used many of the Winter Maiden's powers, only having used ice and wind during her brief fights. Both Genesis and Winter have their effective selection spells that they favor, however only one of them has the firepower to bring down the other. While there's nothing wrong with Winter's magic, it's something that A. Genesis already has, B. can already counter with his own much more powerful developed magic, or C. can evade with his better flight and mobility. Genesis Limit-Breakers serve both range and close range, not to mention they pack a bigger punch. And if Genesis does manage to land the Apocalypse Blast on Winter, the fight is over. And to answer some questions, yes, I believe much like Zack, Cloud, and Sephiroth, Genesis does know powerful fire, ice, and lightning spells, but he simply prefers his own better developed and stronger magic. Honestly, the best that Winter has is her summons, her flight, and glyphs, which isn't going to do much. Her flight is pretty much on par with Genesis. Her summons can easily be taken out by any of his spells, and her glyphs can easily be countered by Genesis' flight. So, Genesis takes the overwhelming edge in magic and special abilities. Just like all of my previous matches involving characters that use weapons, I'll be using Star Wars Lightsaber Fine Forms to better analyze and illustrate a combatant's approach to combat. By the time of becoming Soldier First Class, Genesis will be a well-rounded swordsman. Due to his envy of Sephiroth, Genesis will be a master of Form 4 Taru and Form 5 Genso. A Taru, known as the aggression form, trains the user to use acrobatics and aggression to overwhelm an opponent. However, the form isn't well designed to use in close quarters combat. Genso is developed to train a user to block before immediately counterattacking with a devastating assault. As tactician, Genesis' main and only tactic is to go all out from start to finish with everything that he has. And even then, should he find himself in a corner, he simply adds more power into his assault until his opponent is defeated. As the Eldest Shnee who will go on to train Weiss, Winter will be proficient in Form 2 Makashi. Makashi trains a user in footwork and precision for blade-on-blade combat. However, the form does lack in to add power into his strikes. As an overall combatant, Winter uses an elegant yet swift approach to combat. However, she has struggled against better skilled opponents who can match or have superior strength than her, and has to fall back on use her magic and abilities to fix this. Yeah, much like the last category, it's just pretty clear cut. Even if you give Winter the benefit of the doubt, Genesis in Zen is a much more better swordsman than Winter could ever be. His spar match with Sephiroth and Angel is just one of many spar matches that they had over the years. His Ataru is overall more aggressive and flexible, and Genso makes up for his weakness. As for Winter, she hasn't fixed or found an answer to Form 2's weakness. What puts Winter in an even worse position is that Form 2 is the one form that Sephiroth applies to his fighting style. As combatants, I guess I'll give it to Genesis. If Crow, who was holding back, could fend off and pressure Winter, what are her chances at pressuring Genesis? And may I remind you, in a pure sword play, Genesis will hold the advantage by a landslide. As much as I would like to give Winter credit, the best I can say is that her elegant fighting style would allow her to stay mobile, to give distance, and to keep Genesis on his toes. That's about it. Genesis has overall better training and experience as Makashi is Sephiroth's primary push in swordplay. She's basically gift wrapping this category specifically for Genesis, so no matter how you slice it, Genesis takes the edge in combat skills and tactics. Let's just say this takes place during the events of Volume 8. after gaining power to Winter Man, but instead of finish off Ironwood, it's Genesis who blasts him with a fireball, causing Winter to take defensive stance as Ironwood's aura breaks. Genesis grins as he takes a defensive stance himself. In seconds, the two close distance as two begin standard swordplay, with Genesis taking the lead, gaining hits on Winter, who goes for a gut slash, but Genesis, having familiar feel to the Shini's fighting style, catches her sword in his crossguard before blasting the man with a fireball. Winter manages to activate her aura, but still took half the damage. Recoiling back, but still dazed, Genesis had power up his sword. Once the distance closes, Winter sidesteps Genesis' assault before getting a quick combo, causing the Angel to recoil back. Winter, using Glyph, dashes forward to hit Genesis with another combo, but the Angel stonewalls the Shini's assault before countering with a power blitz that staggers Winter. Using another Glyph, Winter retreats to a higher ledge to fire off large icicles at Genesis. The Angel forms his wing and takes flight. Winter does same as two trade blows, both taking hits and exchanging magic attacks. But Genesis responds to Winter by simply evading, but the Huntress is taking a beating. Her gloves can only block so much, but she can still fight. The two break away as Genesis is starting to feel the damage he has taken so far. The Huntress acts fast and summons her swarm of Nevermores, but much like before, the Angel manages to dodge and exchange, hits Winter with his magical swords. With a given distance, Genesis powers up his rapier as two close distance again, but this time Winter equips her a second sword, blocking Genesis' attacks before slashing across the upper body, but more pissing off the Angel. Genesis cycles through his spells despite being able to dodge his ranged magic. His close range magic are a different story. Both combatants take a decent amount of damage, as a result, break away. Genesis unleashes a volley of fireballs. Winter absolutely dodges most of them, but stops upon realizing that Genesis wasn't aiming directly at her. But it's too late as Genesis smirks, clenching his fist as Winter is bombarded from all directions. The Huntress hits the ground with a thud as the maiden's aura flickers. As she gets to her knees, just as Genesis drops down. Winter summons her Beowulf, but Genesis absolutely destroys it with a powerful fire blast. However, this is only a diversion for the man to use the glyph to get in two powerful slashes on Genesis before impaling him with her second sword. But Genesis blasts Winter with a point blank fire blast to the face, sending Winter flying back several feet. Still stunned from the severe burns, by the time she gets to her feet, Genesis charges up his rapier one last time with as much magic possible, turning his sword a bright crimson red before hitting her with an onslaught of power and speed strikes, breaking her aura, and with the final strike, breaking her sword in two and leaving her badly bloody and beaten as he removes her second sword from him before discarding it. Genesis takes one last look at the man before giving her a smug grin as he reveals his wing and flies off, leaving Winter in the vault. And with that, I declare Genesis, the Blackwing Angel, the winner. Well, I have to admit, unlike Crow vs Genesis, I was actually expecting Winter to win, but what Winter has going for her is a speed and durability advantage. And as I mentioned in Genesis vs Crow, physical capabilities is unfortunately not enough to beat Genesis. It takes more than just physical capabilities to beat the one-winged angel. You either need the skills or magic and abilities to make up for what you lack or to keep you in a fight longer. To either 1, weaken Genesis down enough to get that opening you need, or 2, some magic and abilities to overwhelm Genesis. But unfortunately where RWBY currently is, Winter's chances at winning are fairly slim. Not to mention, Winter's approach to combat is possibly the worst approach to take. As mentioned previously, is the one form that Sephiroth primarily applies to combat. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I'm under no way implying that Genesis is as skilled as Sephiroth. Sephiroth on his own eclipses both Genesis and Winter in every way possible. I'm just saying that Genesis is familiar enough with 4 and 2 since their sparring match in Christ Core is just one of many sparring matches that they had. As mentioned before, if Crow, who was holding back, casually fended off Winter, and Cinder, despite being a better user of Ataru than Genesis, could overwhelm Winter, what chance does Winter have at being Genesis? Her sword is honestly not comparable to Genesis' rapier. And much like their combat abilities, their magic is not even a debate. Yes, Winter can compete with Genesis due to her main stats, and her glyphs can block or dodge most of Genesis' magic. But in the pure sword fight, Genesis is walking away most of the time. If Winter were to take the time to study Ataru or Neemon, she might have a better chance. All anyone needs to do is chip away at Genesis' durability to weaken down enough to get that one hit in they need. But this is just my opinion. Does Genesis have too much going at him? Or can Winter get that one hit in she needs to take out the Blackwing Angel? And with that, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow my Twitter if you care about that, and I'll see y'all next time.